Sawubona Mzansi, and welcome to tonight's MIH Live. So we did some interesting things yesterday. I like the engagement. We were chatting a lot about just UI, answering people's questions, and building a community. Because I like how people are asking questions like, "How did I do this?" or "Why did I do this in a specific way?" So it's not only me just asking for your feedback about the stuff that I am developing. It's also me assisting you a little bit with your own journey and creating your own platform or your own uh, process or application. And if we have a quick recap of what we got or what we did yesterday, we reviewed version 1.1.8 of MIH, and we also, yeah, we reviewed what was there in MIH, and then we also had a look at the best practices in order for, or the best practices in terms of UI and UX in order to, or to create text fields, right? So a text field is basically a UI element, so something inside your website or your application that a person can submit information to you. So if you look inside MIH, all the places where we're capturing some of your information, like your username, if in the beginning of the application, so your email and your password. So those fields itself are text input fields. And that's what we were looking at and to see what's the best practices. So when I first started off in MIH, Sawubona everyone, and thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. So, so what we so we had a look at the best practices to see what's good, because when I first started off with MIH, I had no idea what Flutter was all about. I had no idea what a UI and UX was all about. The last time I did a front end system was when I was still working at one of the banks, and I used Power Apps in order to create applications. So that's a drag and drop tool that you can use to create apps. So that was the only thing that I had some experience, but not really formal experience. And prior to that is when I was still studying. And when I was still studying, the only thing that we did was we used HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The same thing that they're doing in the App Academy stuff. And there's so much limitations with that. It's so hard to, you'll hear a lot of people make jokes about centering a div, because it's so hard to center a div if you don't know how to do it, right? So yeah, when I first started off with MIH, I firstly had no idea how Flutter works, like the ins and outs of Flutter. And then I also had no idea about UI and UX elements and the best practices and stuff. So at that point in time, what I did was I opened up a YouTube video, and there's a guy, I think I followed him on YouTube. I'll check what his name is, but what he did was he has a whole series just explaining how different elements or different widgets inside Flutter work. So one of the videos was a text input field, and I just followed his tutorial video, and then I basically took all that code and I put it inside MIH. And that's what we were using for the input fields. But with the theme of improving the UI and UX, we looked at the best practices, and then we saw there was a whole lot of parts inside MIH that we weren't doing correctly. So we are in the process of fixing that now. So we had a look at that, we learned what was up, and then we also took a look at the code, the actual code that we used to create that widget for MIH, that input widget. So we were looking at that code just to explaining how it works. There were some questions around why I used this specific one and not a specific another one, and why don't I format it in this way, and all of those. The conversation was great. The conversation was amazing last night. So what we're going to do today. So today what we're going to do is we're going to review what the text fields look like, the text input fields look like inside MIH. So I haven't updated it across MIH completely. It is here and there inside MIH. I think there's 3 files that I need to still update, and all of those files are, if I have a look now quickly, all of those files are for the patient manager that lives on the business side of MIH. So there's only one package I need to update, and then I should be done with that. So I want to have a look at that. Then we're gonna look for, or while I was adding these new text fields inside MIH, I realized that I need more UI elements similar to a text field, but or similar to an input field, but not for text specifically, but for like a date input, for example, a time input, for example, uh, a drop down, that's also very important, that we use quite a lot inside MIH, and also a file selector. So I'm not yet sure about the file selector, because I just used that because I was a little bit lazy to think of another way to do it, right? But now that I've grown, I've learned more things, and we will hook that up. We will hook that up. We will hook that up. So we'll create something a little bit better. So cool. Let's jump into what the new text fields look like, and let's see them in action inside MIH. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll log in. I'll flip my camera for you, and I'll flip my camera for the people on YouTube and TikTok. Just please let me know if you can hear me fine, if everything is good in the chat. So let me flip this. Perfect. And perfect. So we're inside MIH now. This is running inside an emulator. So it's not running on my phone itself, it's running inside an emulator. And you'll see there's a test package. You won't be able to see the test package. How's it black mode? So we have a test package here. So if we click on that test package, you'll see this is what we went through yesterday. These are the new UI elements. And if you saw today's video, you would have seen these also. So this is all of these different fields over here that you see: the username, the email, password, numbers, and multi-line. It's all using the same widget on the back end of Flutter. But because of how we coded it and we used more advanced widgets inside Flutter and tools inside Flutter, we were able to use one text field, for multiple different inputs that we require from a user. And something cool about this compared to the other one is I can create a new text field above here with its own validation requirements. I don't have to. Before, I had to go through a whole long process in order to add validation into it, but now it automatically does validation for me. So what I mean by validation is, let me do this. So you see, I typed in a bracket for my username, right? But if we have a look at what it's telling us is, let's create a great username for you, right? You can see it's also outlined in red, showing you that whatever's there is incorrect. So your username should start with a letter. Point number one. Because we're starting with the brackets, it's not working. So we can do this, or let's see. Right, so if we put a bracket first, it's telling us that your username should start with a letter firstly. Then, so it's just listing all the things that are wrong with your username. You can use letters, numbers, and or an underscores only, right? So you can't use any other special characters. You can only use these three options: letters, numbers, and an underscore. And then you have to keep your username between 6 to 30 characters, right? So let's say we type this as our username, right? So it meets the requirements of the length, but it doesn't meet two other requirements. So if I have a look at this and I change, so I'll remove this from the beginning, you'll see that it took it away if I had an at somewhere inside it, right? You'll see here, you can only use letters, numbers, and underscores. Avoid using any special characters like at, hash, or $sign. So this is the power of the new text field that we've announced. And obviously, if you don't enter anything, it tells you username is required. So let's have a username over here. Then the exact same thing for email, right? If you start typing an email, it'll tell you invalid format. I don't know if I should add what an email format should look like. I'm assuming that everyone knows what an email should look like, but we can add that in. So let's say let's say test at mih.co.za. Yeah, co.za. And you can see after we've added it, it now says that this is a valid input. If we move over to our password, the exact same thing, right? So they're saying, if we have a look at what the requirements are, contains at least 8 characters, so the length of it, contains at least one uppercase letter, contains at least one digit, contains at least one special character, and any one of these special characters are fine. So let's do that and this. Then you can see this is the password, right? We also have the toggle over here. So remember, this is not a separate input field compared to the one above, the email one, right? They're using the exact same code in the back end. It's just that how I coded it's more dynamic and be used multiple times across MIH for different purposes. Similar to that, we have the number only field. So it's a little bit hard to demonstrate this, but I'm sure you can hear me typing. You can see I'm trying to type letters now, but it's not typing in. But as soon as I type any numbers, it will allow me to type that in. So this is to restrict the type of input that you are entering. And also, when the virtual keyboard pops up, it'll automatically go to the number format for you. So that's why we have the number only field. Then the next one is the multi-line one. So this is when you're typing long stories, particularly in the notes section, of MIH, or the consultation, I think that's what I called it, the patient consultations. So you'll see that this allows you to enter multiple lines of text inside it, right? We also have a new thing to show you what's optional. If it's not there, it means it's required. If it's there, it's showing you that it's optional. And we can click on this, and then you can see that why does it say input invalid? I think that's a coding issue. Hi friends, saw your channel and noticed you posting great content. However, you need more followers, views. Such scammers over on Kick. They always want to take your money in order to give you views, but that's not what we do here at MIH. So that's what we currently have, right? But this is just our test package. Like I showed you before, it's here in the test package. I want to show you what it looks like inside MIH, right? And I want your advice on it. Is it looking good? Is it looking bad? What can be improved? What should not be improved? Things like that, right? So the very first thing that I want to show you is the sign-in page. This is the very first thing that a user will see when they enter MIH, and we are currently using our new input fields. You can leave a comment, Mzansi. Let me know what you think of these new text fields. Is the new one looking good? I will open up. Well, let me change this one over here to, yeah. So I'll show you what this one looks like also. So we have the current version of MIH. Don't worry about the install button. Because I'm on the web, it shows like that. And if we have a look next to it, this is the new one. So we have the current MIH, the new MIH. Are you liking the look and feel? So on the left-hand side is the new MIH with the new input fields. On the right-hand side is the current MIH. Do you like what they are looking like? I really am liking what it is looking like, these input fields, and especially if we start typing something. So let's say test at mih.co.za, and then we can do a password of uppercase letter, yeah. So I like the look and feel of this. I'm happy what it's currently looking like. So this is what it looks like in the home or in the sign-in page of MIH. If we click on create new account, you'll see it's also there. If we go back to sign in and forgot password, you'll see that it's also there inside this one. And also I can't get to it now, but the reset password Looks better. Thank you so much, Black Mode. I do agree with you. It does look a little bit better. A lot better, actually. So let's jump inside MIH and see where else can we find this. And how do they look. So let's go to the Mzansi profile now. If we click on the Mzansi profile, so don't worry about this one over here. It'll be removed. I can remove it now for you. Give me 1 second. That's good that we're having a look at it right now because package. Okay, here. Okay. Packages, auth, calendar, Mzansi profile. Yeah, this is it over here. So if we scroll down to our Mzansi profile, and remember how I code, I like how I coded this thing. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I like how I coded this because, like you see, the field is showing over here now. But all I have to do is I don't have to do a lot in order to remove it. So you can see over here, I can just say change the visibility of it to false, and then submit. And then you'll see now it's removed. So this is what it should look like, final version. I'm also liking the color. I like the blue color. The blue color is bringing something. I don't know what's it bringing, but it's bringing something to the screen. So I'm enjoying it. So that's what it looks like here. We have it at the patient profile also. You can see we've also made the address field a little bit fatter as a Sawubona, Ms. Ditis. Do I prefer my VS Code without icons? Wait, not app related, but bruh, do you prefer your VS Code without app icons? What are app icons? The only app icons I know from VS Code are these over here. So I'm not an expert. So please, you can let me know what exactly. Who is this? Black. You can let me know what you think, or you can explain more. What icons are you talking about? Because I only know of these icons inside VS Code. Cool. While you're answering that, so this is what it looks like here. You'll also see, so it's throughout MIH. If I click on edit, you'll see that the edit screen also has it. But what you'll notice is, like I mentioned in the beginning of the live, our drop down fields, I haven't coded or I need to code a new input field for a drop down specifically, right? So you'll notice that if this drop down this drop down is similar to the old one, it still has the same old look and feel. So all the drop downs inside MIH, oh, so because I'm using a Mac, right? I don't know if you're talking about these things over here at the top. Mac is kind of weird, kind of different. So they put their file selection, like all of these things at the top. It's by default. I don't know. It's the first time I'm using a Mac, so it's kind of weird for me. Because if you look over here, so I'm currently on VS Code. If you look at the top, you'll see it says code. But if I click on Chrome, it changes at the top over here to Chrome. So it's dependent on the application that you focused on. The options show up there. I hope that answered your question. So yeah, we have the drop-down fields that we need to still do. But we'll do that later on. I'll show you there's other ones also. If we go here, so these are the consultation notes that I was speaking about previously. If we click on it, once again, we have the new input fields, and I'm loving how they look. I finally understand what the people were saying when they said it's hard on the eyes. It's hard to look at. It's difficult to look at when you're looking at the previous one. So just for a comparison purpose, let's sign into MIH using using, using the test profile, and then we'll go to the exact same thing just so that we can see a difference between them. This one has no notes. Patient manager, patient. Oh my word, what profile is this? I'm sorry, someone someone deleted the profile, the test profile, and so now all that data was gone, but that's okay because we have other ones. So we'll do this one. So I'll view the patient's record, and yeah. So if you compare this one, this is the current MIH to the new MIH. I finally understand what people are saying when they said that MIH is a little bit hard on the eyes. I get what they're saying when they speak about the one on the left hand side of the screen. On the right hand side, sorry. This looks way better in my opinion. Right, so that's what the consultation notes look like. Let's go to the patient manager so that we can have access to other functionality also. I need to change this. Oh, but yes, this is the things. You'll see this uses the old ones, but I still need to change that to align with the rest of them. But I'll just view the patient's record and then we'll go to the notes. And yeah, and even so we can only delete here, delete. Okay. If we click on the menu button at the bottom and we click on add note, you'll see even here, it also follows that same design philosophy, for lack of a better word. So that's what it looks like here. And where else? So all across MIH we have this, and I'm liking the look and feel of them at the moment. Just followed you. Thank you so much, John, for the follow. Appreciated. Then we have so what is the other thing? So yeah, so this is what I was telling you about when I was speaking about the new fields. So what I want us to do today is have a look to see what are the best UI practices when creating a drop down field, right? So that's something we can focus on today, and we'll see how far we get. But I think tomorrow I'm going to finish up on the text input fields, and we're going to and I'm going to move on to the drop down field. So I want to do like the groundwork now for us. So let's check. So I normally just use Google for such things. I don't want to use Gemini because I want like picture examples and things, and I want an article from someone. So let's say best practice UI/UX for drop down fields. We'll see what the results are. So 10 best practices for designing drop down menus. This sounds interesting. Let's have a look. So I wonder if we can have okay, no, that's fine. So let's see. There's even a video over here, but these look quite cool. I'm already impressed with this, but let's see what they have to say. All right. I wonder if I can make it read aloud. I read very slowly, so open in reading mode, inspect speech, start speaking.
Drop-down menu design guidelines and best practices. Don't use long menus. Don't use a drop-down for two options. Disable options that are not valid at the moment. Don't use a drop-down where
what is
options are
this?
too obvious. Don't use a drop-down for more than two levels. Make a clear visual design. Consider
that whatever voice Apple is using is trash for their thing. It doesn't even pause. I think because there's no full stops at the end, but it should pause because there's ones and things there. But that's okay. So the drop-down menu design guidelines and best practices. Point number one, don't use long menus. Right? You'll see they break it down for us, but we'll just go through the top 10. Number two, don't use a drop down for two options. I wonder why they say that. And then number three, disable options that are not valid at the moment. So they're probably saying when there's a drop down and there's specific options in that drop down that are not applicable for you, don't use them, right? Then it is don't use number four. Don't use a drop down where options are too obvious. We'll have to dive into that. What do they mean by obvious? Don't use a drop down for more than two levels. These people are talking very advanced things, but that's okay. We'll learn together. Then it is make a clear visual design. Number seven, consider mobile devices. Number eight, organize options in a logical order. Okay. Number nine, provide a search feature. Okay. So that's like, say you have like, I think the best way that I can think of this is if you have a drop down like of country, or when you're looking for the country code for your cell phone number, then there's hundreds of countries over there, but they give you the ability to search, say South Africa at the top, and then it will filter out your list for you. So that's what they mean by provide a search feature. And then make a default selection. So this is before someone even clicks on something, have a default option already selected for them to make it easier so they don't have to click and choose it if it's something very obvious or if you're trying to steer them in a direction or in a particular direction. Let's learn what they're all about. We'll try the speech again.
1. Don't use long menus. Using drop-down menus with too many options often leads to a poor user experience. It increases the cognitive load for users to process and compare a long list of options. Users will spend more time on a simple selection. Users will be required to scroll the list to see all the options. This can be more annoying on small screens. It takes more loading time to load all the options quickly when the user scrolls through the list to find the required option.
Okay, so let's break that down. Increase the cognitive load. It increases the cognitive load. So they're basically saying don't have thousands of options inside your drop down field, right? If that's the requirement, that means that you're not thinking about your fields correctly and you're just stuffing everything into one drop down field. Sawubona, nice to see you here again. Then, so it increases load time of that and then requires the user to scroll through a long list. So if there's a short option, it would take them less than a second in order to select an option. But then if it's a huge list, now they're spending. I've noticed this myself when there's like huge lists, you spend like a good like 5 seconds looking for your option. So make it more simple and more loading time. That's okay. So I can understand this. We won't make it too long. Are they saying this is a bad example? Okay. So I think this is a bad example of a long scroll list, right? That's too many options over here. It needs to change. Then let's see what the second part of this is telling us.
What if you need a long drop-down menu? In such cases, certain best practices help you manage long drop-down menus. Use categories groups. This helps users quickly navigate to the relevant category instead of scrolling through the entire list. Provide a search feature. This allows users to enter the text and quickly find the required result. Limit the number of options. Reevaluate whether all options are necessary. Limit the number by removing less important options. Use alternative UI controls. Consider alternative UI controls, such as a list box or a group of checkboxes, which might be more user-friendly.
Okay, makes sense. So what to do if there's no other option but to have a long drop down? Categorize. I don't know how to do this, but I think I've seen, like, if you look at this one over here, this is kind of categorized because the iPhones, or there's a line over here. So I'm assuming here's the iPhones, here's the, this is phones, sorry. These are phones or small phones. these are tablets, and these are laptops and desktops, right? So it's that's what they say when they mean categorize things. So thank you so much for the donut, Razin. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Then yeah, so that was number one. Use categories. So it's something similar to this, but a little bit more obvious. And then provide a search feature, like I mentioned before. It allows someone just to type in a to filter out the content. Limit the number of options. Okay. Then use alternate controls. So limit the number of options if there's no or if there's no other option but to have a long one. This one seems kind of irrelevant. And then use alternate controls. I don't know what a list box is. I know what check boxes is, but if you have a long list of check boxes, it's still not going to be bad at that. Has some good examples for such. What is that? What is that? Let me type that in. SHADCH. Am I doing it correctly? Get started. How? They don't use my framework here. Hectic. Pick your framework. So the framework that we're using is Flutter, and for some reason it's not here. Isn't that a React library? Yeah, that's what I'm looking as I'm seeing now. It looks like they have Next.js, which is a part of React. Like React is a big thing over there. React routers. So we can. I'll research more about what this tool is, and we'll jump into it later. I don't want to waste your time me figuring out how to learn things. There is a Flutter version. How do we find it? Who is this? Sorry, let me check your name. How do I a not a Gilbert? Gilbert. I'll call you Gilbert. Gilbert, where do we find the Flutter stuff? Let's go introduction. Next, install. Is this a whole thing that I have to install? How to install dependencies such as. Okay, I think this is a little bit advanced for me right now, but we'll get into it. We'll definitely get into it. Pub.dev. So pub.dev is definitely, I love using pub.dev. So that's a good point. So I think once we are done with just checking out the best practices, then we can jump over to pub.dev to see what open source technologies are there and are available. Let me just go back to Flutter. So it is on pub.dev. Okay, we'll have a look at that after we see the best practices. Then they say don't use a drop down for two options. Let's listen to why they say that.
Using a drop-down menu for just two options is generally not recommended because it will add unnecessary complexity for users. A drop-down menu requires at least two clicks or taps. The first click opens the menu and the second click selects
Sawubona Theo.
Options. This process is inefficient when compared to alternatives. Hiding two options in a drop-down menu can be frustrating for users. What is the solution for providing two options for selection? In such cases, it is better to use another control. Radio buttons or toggle switches allow users to select an option with a single click or tap. Also, the options are always visible on the UI.
Interesting, very interesting. So that's already an issue that I'm seeing. With number two, we have an issue with MIH. So I'll show you exactly where that issue is. Here's our drop down with two options. Exactly what they're telling us not to do, we have it here in MIH. This is what I'm talking about when I say that I created these things way back when I had no experience, when I didn't even know what UX was all about, right? So we're gonna have to fix that. Maybe put a radio button thing like this. Where's this article? Let me save it. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just want to save this. New UX drop down. Let me know if you have any questions of what we're getting up to today, or if you have any questions about MIH also. I'll try my best to answer you. So this is something that we definitely have to change. We can't have a drop down with only two fields. It has to be 3 or more fields. So for such options, we're going to use the radio buttons like this. So radio buttons. Let me make a note of that. Radio buttons. Radio buttons. Right? Number three, disable options that are not valid at the moment. So I don't really want to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna skip this step over here because why would I even put the option in if if it's not there? But I see what they're saying over here for like this. But what we do in MIH, I'm not even gonna show you these two options. Why show you these options and show you they disabled and you can't use it if I can just show you paste, for example? But I understand what they're talking about here, but I don't think it really applies inside MIH. Follow the creators. So thank you so much 2BY2 for following us. So how to achieve a better way? Okay, we'll skip number three. We'll move on to number four. Don't use a drop down where options are too obvious. Let's listen to what they have to say.
It is not essential to provide a drop-down menu every time users need to select from available choices. Sometimes the options are simple and familiar, and providing them in a drop-down list can reduce efficiency. In such cases, asking users to scroll through a long list can slow the process.
100% agree with that. So, and I know MIH does have a few of these long, these long drop downs, right? I'll give you an example of that now. So if we go to, I think it's patient manager. So if we go to a patient manager and open up one of the patient's records, I think it's this one. Yes, 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 it is this one. We're going to generate a prescription. So times a day or dosage. Yeah, this one over here has a huge list of numbers over here. I put that in because I lack of experience. I'm gonna blame lack of experience. But we do have some of this. So this is something important to look at. So we shouldn't have multiple things. I know in Flutter they provide a date selection tool just to fix this here problem. But there's definitely, thanks so much for the follow, Rahab. Rahab, thanks for the follow. Don't use a drop down for this. Let's see what we can do to fix that, guys. Because it's something that needs to be fixed. Let's see how we fix that.
Instead, allowing users to enter the input can significantly speed up the process. You can provide auto-suggest to guide the users about related options. It reduces the cognitive effort of scanning and selecting from a long list. This approach is often more intuitive and quicker for users who already know what they are looking for.
Nice. So, I get what they're saying. So, for example, this one over here where I need someone to enter a number. I think at this point in time when I was creating it inside MIH, I had no idea that I could restrict the input from the user. So I just put a drop down field there. But what we are going to do is we are going to add something like this. So basically what they're telling us is instead of having a drop down with a huge thingy, we can do a number only selection. So that's something to note going forward. Number 5, don't use a drop down for more than 2 levels. What does that mean? Okay, but let's listen to them. Even though it doesn't, right at the moment, it wouldn't apply to MIH, but let's listen to see what it says.
Drop-down menus with multiple levels can become overwhelming and confusing for users. Navigating through several levels of options increases complexity. With each next level, users must remember where they are in the menu hierarchy and keep track of previous selections. Deep levels can lead to interaction issues, such as accidentally hovering over the wrong item and causing the menu to close or shift unexpectedly. This can be particularly frustrating on touch devices, where precise control is more difficult.
I get it. So basically what they're saying is this is more like for, you know, the file and all those options at the top of the screen that can expand. So you see like this. So we don't have that in MIH, but we can remove it, but we can still learn from this. So they're basically telling us that we shouldn't have multiple or more than two levels deep into the menu option. Because I'm not sure if you've noticed this before, but sometimes you click on an option and then you try and select it, but then your mouse moves just above it and then the option closes for you. So I get why they say it's annoying, but I don't think it's applicable to MIH at the moment. We don't have this type of UI elements. So next one, make a clear visual design. Let's see what they say.
Indicate clearly where a drop-down menu is available. Use arrows along with the label title of the menu. This will help users know about the presence of the drop-down menu.
Okay, so they're just telling us to make sure that our users know that it's a drop down. So let's see how we can make it obvious for users.
Use a consistent style. Use consistent styles for drop-downs across the application. It makes it easier for users to recognize and interact with the control. Since the drop-down menu overlaps the interface, use a clear contrast against the background. Provide proper hover and selection states when the user hovers or selects an option in the menu. Provide clear visual feedback. A background color or a checkmark can be used to show the selected option.
Okay. So contrast styles. So they're basically saying like with these two drop down that they have, you wouldn't want to make it gray like the background. You would rather want to have it like completely white or completely black in order for it to show the user that it's something different than just the normal elements on the screen. Ensure smooth animation, use icons to support options. Okay. Don't use tooltips for options within a drop down. Okay, that's fine. Consider mobile devices. I think this is important because I prefer using MIH on the mobile device compared to on the desktop at the moment. It's just because it's a little bit smoother and better. And it's more convenient because it's on my phone.
On mobile devices, drop-down menus can be more challenging to design due to small screen sizes and touch-based interactions. Use responsive drop-down menus that can adjust themselves based on the device type. For longer lists, consider using a dedicated selection screen where users can scroll through options and make a selection. Ensure that the drop-down menu and its options have sufficiently large tap areas. Small or closely spaced options will lead to user frustration and errors. It is better to use native controls as they are optimized for touch interaction. These components are familiar to users and provide a better user experience than custom drop-downs. Avoid using drop-down menus with multiple levels on mobile. A single level menu is easier to navigate and less confusing.
Okay. Well, they're just saying be considerate, right? Use responsive drop downs. For long lists, use a dedicated selection screen. So I have something like that inside MIH. I'll show what it looks like. So if we open it up and go back to our patient manager, and this is under the document or the claims section. So if we make a new claim, we have the ICD-10 code. So if we search for something, let me just say I1, and then I'll search for it. So they basically say, okay, this is a bad one. Yeah, so they're basically saying instead of having a drop down field with multiple, like hundreds of options, have a separate screen, just like this one. So I searched for a code, I pressed enter, and then it gave me a longer list of things for a user to select. And they're saying this is best on mobile because it's easy for the user. You make things a little bit bigger, it's not all squashed and stuff. And then when you select it, it brings it back onto the side. So we do have that in MIH at the moment. Nice. I'm glad. The drop down menu, it's to just, yeah, it needs to be large enough for people to tap. Okay. Native controls. So I don't really want to use native controls. I feel like that's cheating a bit. And I do want to use my own controls. The reason why I use my own or want to create my own one, that it gives me the flexibility to fix issues and change things to fit my need or MIH's need precisely, and not really try and work around other people's limitations in their code. So avoid using drop down menus with multiple levels. We discussed this. So organize options in logical order. Let's listen to this because I don't think MIH is in logical order, but let's hear what they say.
If the options can be logically grouped by category or type, consider organizing them into groups. To make groups more apparent, you can use visual dividers or headers within the drop-down to separate different categories. If the options are of equal importance or there is no clear pattern, arrange them alphabetically. This method allows users to predict where an option will appear. If the drop-down menu includes date, time, or other sequential options, arrange them in order. Similarly, if the menu shows numbers or ranges, arrange them in ascending or descending order.
Okay. I don't know if this makes sense to me. It makes sense in terms of this kind of menu, but not really the drop down we're looking for. Because I thought they were going to say, like, for example, let's say I don't have an option with that many options, but let's say, for example, the service description had 9 options. The first one was consultation and had its own consultation section that you can choose from. It's just to make it easy, but I don't think we have long lists of options like this one that we need to go into different categories. So I think we can skip this one in MIH and then provide a search feature. So that is standard. I think I do have a search feature. I'll just double check this. I think I disabled it for some of them. Yeah, but I know I have it there for us to use. So it's basically if you have a long list, you can type something into it and it will filter out the drop downs for you. So we can definitely have, or I definitely want something like that. Make a default selection. Let's listen.
If there's a common or recommended option, consider setting it as the default selection. This can streamline the user's interaction, especially if they are supposed to accept the default. If no clear default exists, or if you want to force users to make a conscious choice, start with a neutral option like none or select.
Okay. So they're basically saying that if there's a preferred option or you want to guide the users to an option and you don't want them to select something, you can do that for them. So, like this one, where there's no example over here, but instead of you clicking on it and then selecting something, it would automatically be selected with the most used option, for example. So we do have stuff like that inside MIH. We do guide the people where we can. Interesting. Interesting. But where do we see? I want to see some actual designs now. So we've understood the best practice. Let's see best UI design for down input. Oh, sorry, we were going to who was that? I forgot what your name was. This respond over here. You recommended this. Let's have a look at what they have to offer us, because this is quite cool. Shad CN. Shad CN. So Flutter. And this was updated 14. So this is how, when I'm looking at packages, this is what I look for specifically, right? So I see when last was it updated, because if something was last updated 3 years ago, that means any bugs that I encounter, there's no hope of it getting fixed from the developers. Also, another thing that I like to look at is if we move over to the side, we will look at the license, right? And see what license is used or what license is there for this software. And this is the BSD license. We can ask Mzansi what that is. I think we did do it yesterday. Let's close this, go all the way back, and let's ask Mzansi what is license. So we're using the new Ask Mzansi feature. So let's listen to what it has to say.
Hey there, let's talk about the BSD 3 clause license. Basically, it's a really permissive open source license. That means you can use, modify, and distribute the software, even for commercial purposes with very few restrictions. The main thing is that you have to include the original copyright notice and license text. Also, if you modify the software, you have to state that. Want me to elaborate on any specific part of it, like the conditions you need to meet? Would you like me to explain how it differs from other licenses?
No. So basically, it's an open source license. Open source is free. The code is available for us to view and scrutinize and even modify if we want to. And this one, they don't go into doesn't go into too much details, but it's less. It's really permissive, so it allows you to do a lot of things without there being a lot of restrictions put on you as a developer using this tool. So that's what the BSD license is all about. So let's have a look at this package now. So this package is also open source. To prove that it's open source, you can see here's the repository on GitHub. If we click on it, here's the code for what this guy has to offer, or what this person has developed, right? And there's a whole description, there's everything. And I think, yeah, they even have an example file. So if I were to run this code, I can pull a copy of this. I can make a copy of this repo and then I can test it out myself. And yeah, there's basically a test file over here for us. But before we do that, let's go back and let's see what's it all about. Let's go to pub.dev. So, a set of widgets and utilities for building applications in Flutter. This is a port of the shad cn UI package to Flutter. So this is a port of what we looked at on the website. So there is animation. So animated value builder, okay. Number ticker, okay. Repeated animation builder. Disclosures, feedback. So the problem with using something like this is, say for example, I only want, let's see where's the drop down. Yeah, there's drop down menu, right? So it's loading the application now, but if we go, wait, let's open that up in a new tab for the meantime. But if we look over here, I just want to have a drop down menu. But now if I import this package into MIH, all of these things is going to come with it. So it increases the amount of, or the size of the application, and it, with Flutter in particular, it makes the load time, the very first time the application loads, a little bit slower if you use a lot of packages with unnecessary elements inside it for you. So it should add the code to your code base as opposed to what Material does. So the code is yours after. Yeah, very true. So it does bring it, but it's going to bring all of these other stuff here for me also. And yeah, it's going to bring all of these things with it. And I think at the moment this is too much. There's too much options over here. I'm gonna drown with the choices. No, you only import what you want. So with Flutter, I'm not sure about the other languages, but if I import Flutter, right? So say I import this and I put it into my pubspec. So it works off pubspec, right? So if I were to add it here, for example, right? It's now telling Flutter the very first time that it loads the application for you, it's going to pull all of these dependencies and store them. That's my understanding. I was having a chat with Gemini about this because I wanted to increase the start time for brand new users on the web. And it said that if there's too many packages, and I'm already using a lot of packages at the moment, if there's too much packages, and then it could cause a slowdown the very first time that you're loading the app. Thereafter it won't be slow, but the very first time it will be slow. So I would rather stay away from such big and robust, this is like a whole framework itself. But thank you for the suggestion. I'll continue looking at it because there are some cool things that maybe in the future MIH would want to use, like the skeleton stuff, right? Thank you so much, Canelwe, for the roses. I appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, so let's look what else Pub Spec has to offer. The reason why I'm saying this has a lot of things is I can probably search for drop down over here and find a package that has like one drop down itself. Let's see what is this? This is looks quite cool. What did they do? Ah, what do you think about? I don't know if this is too much also. So this is completely different. So you select a field and then it brings up this option for you as a drop down. Quite cool, quite interesting. Very cool and very interesting actually. So that's option number one. Let's duplicate this. And let's go back to see what else is there. Multiple drop downs. So if you're using Flutter as your framework, guys, you can go on to pub.dev and you can just search for whatever you need to see, because it's an open source community. Everyone just builds and shares what they are using. So if we look at multi select drop down, is that what this is? Okay, I don't want a multi select drop down. Drop down with a search field. Okay, interesting. So you see, this is what I was trying to explain. So I currently have something like this, right? And then if I want to modify this and make it look a little bit fancier to match the theme of MIH, it's quite difficult if you use a package built by someone else, right? Or else I'll have to go and modify their code. So what I am going to look at, because we do have a drop down. If we look at the drop down, if we have a look at our drop down options, so we do have our own custom drop down at the moment that we are using. But this one, the look and feel is not nice. I want it to be aligned similar to the search and this one over here. So I think I'll take inspiration from here. But what I was also doing is trying to get the best UI design for drop-down input fields. Drop-down input dribble. I like this. If you're a Flutter developer, I'm sure you've seen this. What's it, Medium, a lot, because I don't know if Google employs these people to make articles or these people are just really passionate about Flutter because they have articles about everything. Thank you so much for the follow. So let's have a listen to the intro. Well, let's listen to the title. So, drop down cheat sheet, a practical guide for UI and UX design. I like this. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Drop-down menus are a familiar feature of web and mobile interfaces, often used to display multiple options in a compact way. While drop-downs can be useful, they are not always the best choice. Misusing them can lead to unnecessary friction in the user experience. This cheat sheet provides practical guidance for UI/UX designers, helping you decide when drop-downs are appropriate and when alternatives are better suited. Why drop-downs matter. Drop-downs allow users to choose one option from many while conserving screen space. However, they introduce friction by requiring multiple clicks or taps and hiding options until the drop-down is opened. Depending on the context, these disadvantages can outweigh the benefits. Let's dive into common scenarios and explore when to use drop-downs and when to replace them.
Okay. So Theo just mentioned now over on TikTok that Medium, this website that we're on, they pay anyone to write articles for them based on views, right? Kind of like how YouTube does it. Okay, that's cool, but even it's quite a good resource to have. The only issue that I have is some of the articles are behind a paywall, and it annoys me because why are some articles free and then this one particular article that I need, why is it paid for? But I get they have to eat also, so it's okay. Then fewer than five options. Okay, number one, right? Thanks so much, Theo, for that feedback. But if you're using Flutter as a framework, I would recommend that if you see the medium one, click on them first and see what they have to do. It's like they normally when I open them up to read them, it's like they explaining it to the extreme beginners, unless they're talking about advanced concepts. But if they're talking about normal standard concepts like a drop down field, it's like they're speaking to us like beginners, and I like that because I am a beginner. So, number one, fewer than five options, avoid a drop down, right? So, don't use a drop down for small numbers of options like two to four, quite shocking. Use a radio button instead. And then why drop downs hide choice and requires users to click to reveal them. Radio buttons are faster. Okay, makes sense. I guess with four options, it doesn't make it too chunky and too cluttered. And then example, a drop down to choose between red, blue, and green for a t-shirt color. So instead of having a drop down for these three colors in your input, you can rather just have the radio buttons for them to click. Or if you have two options, use a toggle. Oh, sorry, that's number two. Binary choices, use a toggle. Let's listen.
Don't use a drop-down for yes, no, or on-off decisions. Do use a toggle switch or radio buttons for clarity. Why? Binary options are simple, and toggles provide a more visual and immediate way to indicate choices. Example, bad, a drop-down to turn notifications on or off in an app. Good, a toggle switch labeled notifications, on off.
So like I said, inside MIH we have, so here's one with three options, right? Sorry, here's one with three options. So based on what they're telling us, three options. Let me copy this article so I can have a reference for later. Give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, we do have one with three options. So I'll have to look at all of the drop downs inside MIH. I'll do that tomorrow and see exactly which one needs to stay, which ones needs to go, which ones need to change, all of these kind of things. Okay, number three, large lists, question mark. Use searchable drop downs. Let's listen why.
Don't use a long, scrollable drop-down for large datasets. Do use a searchable drop-down or autocomplete text field. Why? Long drop-downs force users to scroll endlessly, which can be frustrating. A searchable drop-down allows users to type and narrow down results quickly. Example, bad, a drop-down to select a country from a list of 200 plus countries. Good, a searchable drop-down that filters results as the user types. For example, I'm shows India and Indonesia.
Right, same thing that I was telling you earlier. For when you have a huge list and you're like trying to search for your country code, having a search option is much better than not having it there. Alright. Let's go on to number four, numeric input. This is perfect because this is something that we need to fix inside MIH. So numeric input, use stepper or fields. Alright, so if we go to the documents and generate a prescription, under the dosage, we have a numeric field. That clearly is bad UX for the user. So it's like, say they want 20, right? Instead of just typing 20, they have to scroll all the way to the bottom and search for 20 on the current implementation of MIH. So we can either add this one over here or add this one. I'm leaning more towards this because if we use this one and like I mentioned, if we use 20, then you're going to be clicking this button 20 times. I'm sure this can be editable, like you click on this and then they can input it, but I don't know. I feel like it's adding a little bit more complexity to the whole thing. I would rather just have this, where you can use the normal keyboard and stuff. Let's listen to why.
Don't use drop downs for small numeric ranges, for example, 1 to 10. Do use stepper controls, increment decrement buttons, or an input field. Why? Steppers allow for quick adjustments, while input fields let users type values directly, making the process faster.
Let's listen for web what to do. So I think that was for mobile.
Example from the web, bad, a drop down to choose the number of items in a cart 1 to 10. Good, a stepper control with plus and buttons or a text field to enter the quantity. Pro tip, combine steppers with input fields to give users the flexibility of both.
That's what I was mentioning over here. So if we create a stepper, let me make a note of that. Stepper is cool. So numeric stepper. So this numeric stepper over here, it can either allow them just to use the plus and minus, or if you click on the 4 in this case, for example, then the keyboard will open and you can enter whatever you want to. That is definitely the thing. I see it is, our time has run out. Let me flip our camera. Thank you so much, guys. This is some interesting things about UI and UX design. I've never thought that I would be... 6 isn't recommended. 10.6 isn't recommended. I'm not sure what you're saying. Actually, this 10-6 isn't recommended. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Did I miss something? But yes, thank you so much, guys. It's interesting things, trying to figure out what's the best practice for UI and UX. And these kind of things, just because we learn it now, what's best practice, doesn't mean that it'll stay best practice forever. So I think we do need to keep on top of things, because if you think about, let's say 10 years ago, Flutter wasn't even a thing. And you would basically be using whatever the standards were back then. And back then, maybe mobile phones wasn't popping off like how it is popping off now. So things change as things evolve. And plus with AI coming in now, there'll probably be a new user experience or UI elements that we'll have to learn later on. But may you please tell WordPress developers that they're not real developers. Please, let's not disrespect developers. Developers are developers, guys. So I used drag and drop tools when I was working, and I think that you use a specific tool for a specific need. So if you're trying to use WordPress and you're trying to create the next Google, I think now you're not a real developer, right? But if you're trying to use WordPress just to have a website to display information to people, that's the perfect use case for WordPress. I wouldn't expect you to go learn Python as a backend, go learn React as a language or in a framework, and then learn JavaScript, and then go create that website when WordPress is there for you. So it's depending on what's your use case, what's happening, and that's it. But there are real developers, and there are like actual functionality behind it, even though most of the time people just use templates. But I'm thinking about the people that created the templates. Those are also WordPress developers. But we're all developers, guys, so it's okay. And yes, so tomorrow I'm going to finish up the text input fields inside the patient manager. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to think about and create a new drop-down field. I'm going to look across MIH to see which one, or to see what drop-down fields are not following best practice, what's the best alternative for them. And then once I have that in mind, then I can say, okay, I need to create a drop-down, sorry, and I need to create a stepper, because I like the stepper idea. I think I didn't know it was a stepper, but I was using something like that in the Mzansi AI. So I'll create something like that for us to use also. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you join us in tomorrow's live. We're going to go through the progress that we made in the drop-downs and read the rest of the articles that are here. We also have a few other things that we still need to understand, which is the date selector, so when you're selecting a date, a time selector, so when you're selecting a time, and we have to think about a file selector. So if someone wants to select a file, what's the best way that they can select this file? But cool, thank you so much for joining the live tonight. I appreciate you. I will see you tomorrow. Let's keep working hard, Mzansi. Ooh, that's that bloody donut.